All right. I don't know why I try to fix my hair. It always looks terrible. Welcome back to Tailosive Tech, live on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you're having a wonderful Thursday thus far. I know it's probably a good piece of news for one viewer in particular. This is just going to be like a birthday stream just for him specifically. Big Truck Series Review Motorsports. There is actual analysts now suggesting that 1 terabyte iPhones are coming. I know you've wanted this more than anybody else on the planet, but I also thought it might be a bit interesting to talk about why this makes sense or why it doesn't make sense. But I'm curious to hear your discussion. So this was a couple of days ago, but there were other videos and other subjects I wanted to dive into. But essentially, this is from Daniel Ives from Wedbush. As seen as a note today, he's expecting for the iPhone 13 to launch in the 3rd week of September, which makes sense. Second half put iPhone build between 130 and 150 million units, appears to represent 35 to 45% of iPhone builds in quarter 3. Wow, that's quite a bit considering it's not even out yet. But he says, at least March, Ives has likewise asserted the 13 series will include 1 terabyte options, and his latest report is essentially him doubling down on that claim. So we're less than a month away from iPhone season again, and people are saying 1 terabyte, so likelihood is increased. They're reaffirming that. Double that of the highest storage of the 12. If camera upgrades take up the feature spotlight this year, then offering more onboard storage would be a logical stepwise addition. So yeah, actually Mac Rumors is saying my exact same theory, because we know who was it, Bloomberg has been talking about what type of really cool features they're planning for the Pro series of iPhones. I'm not exactly sure if these will be available on the regular 13 and 13 mini, but basically as we know it right now, as people are predicting, there's going to be portrait mode for video, as in you can be recording a video and have a real cinematic blurred background. I'm still unsure exactly how that will work. Please, Mike, stop. Mike, please don't time people out just using for all caps one time. It's not that big a deal. It's okay. Especially if it's Big Truck Series Review Motorsport. That's what the whole live stream is for. Using caps one time is fine. Just spam is what we're trying to avoid. But anyway, ProRes support video codec is also rumored for the Pro iPhones, which also is a much higher file size than the typical HEVC codec that iPhones record to, which I'm really excited for, because I just want compression to not be as extremely terrible on the iPhones whenever you record video. I mean, for smartphones, it's decent enough, but portrait mode video would definitely take up more space because it's capturing a lot of background depth data and that type of thing. And also ProRes hopefully results in there being less compression overall, so the video support on these Pro iPhones might be much better. ProRes editing on the iPad going. Yeah, this is like the weirdest way for the iPad to possibly get ProRes, but it would feel weird if Apple brought the ProRes video codec to the iPhone and then immediately had to add it to the iPad just so that it wouldn't be incompatible. Although we got to remind ourselves that there are several features Apple will have just on the iPhone that they do not bring to the iPad, so it's not a guarantee, obviously. But the truth is, if Apple wants more people using iCloud storage and they want people using cloud server space as much as possible, then they want you to be able to access those high-resolution videos, and they want you to be able to access and record, not just access, but record high-bandwidth data so that you can store it in iCloud, therefore pay more for iCloud storage. The closer you get to filling up 2 terabytes of iCloud, then the sooner you got to subscribe to Apple One. So when will Apple make 2 terabyte iPhones? Yeah, exactly. That's the next. Let's see. Ben Rayner, the gold color looks cool as well. Yeah, I'm not even sure if they would consider that gold or if it's just supposed to be like a very bright, vibrant orange. He did it twice. Okay, Big Truck Series Review Motorsports is exempt. I'm saying he can type in all caps. That's fine for this stream. Only him and him alone, no one else. But yeah, if ProRes does not come to the 13 Pro, then I feel like Apple would kind of have to offer 1 terabyte models. Oh, if it does come, yes, exactly. I read it wrong. Rich Hardesty says, thoughts on Mac Mini potentially being delayed. Certified refurbished Mac Minis have essentially disappeared. What? What are you talking about? Only 8 gigabytes of RAM version and the 3 small SSD configs? Oh, okay. Yeah, the 8 gigs of RAM option is just overall the more popular option. So I have to imagine the people that certified refurbished Mac Minis are more often than not are just returned Mac Minis, and I imagine that the 8 gig of RAM option is the most common. So that's likely why they have a lot of certified refurbished, because the people that are willing to opt for 16 gigs of RAM are more likely to keep their Mac Mini. So I don't know exactly why those in particular have disappeared, but I have not heard any report on the M1X Mac Mini getting delayed, although I'll admit there's been a lot of talk about the M1X MacBook Pros coming out later this year, and less certainty around the Mac Mini, less like confirmation of a bunch of people saying, yes, that's definitely happening. So my guess is that Apple is probably just toying around with whether or not they want to release it. You know, I'm sure the M1X probably costs a bit more to make, and there was a lot more R&D that went into it. So they're probably debating whether or not they want that product category to exist. You know, does it make sense to have some Mac Minis with M1s and some Mac Minis with M1X? Do they want to go all in on M1X or all in on M1? Does it make sense to keep around an $1,100 option for the Mac Mini, or how much is it going to cost, that type of thing? So I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up getting delayed, because the MacBook Pros are higher margin. You know, they probably are going to cost more, and they're probably going to make a lot more through those, and they'll be more popular. Whereas if they just sell the M1X and a Mac Mini, then the margins are lower, probably end up selling a ton of those, and maybe they're worried about the M1X Mac Mini eating into the sales of the iMac, and the iMac, they want to kind of be in its own department. They don't want the Mac Mini butchering all that, because obviously the more money you spend on Apple products, the better. So I could understand why the M1X Mac Mini might not happen at all. I hope it does, but I'm understanding of why it's not a certainty, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Earlier, Divot asked me what my view on the Pixel 5a was. Honestly, I watched reviews of it and I checked the updates of it. I didn't really have much to say. You know, I didn't really see the need to make a video on it. Maybe I will if I run out of video ideas. So there's your warning. If I drop a video on the Pixel 5a, it's because I've completely run out of things to talk about. But I saw the specs, I saw the price, and I was like, yeah, okay, it's decent. The only slight issue I saw with it, someone was having on Twitter, is that they were recording video on the Pixel 5a, and it was overheating within a matter of minutes in like an air-conditioned, like cool environment. So I'm guessing the 765G CPU they put in that thing overheats a little bit too easy. So that, other than that, it seems like a good deal. If you're comfortable with Android and you want a nice display, then that's a good way to get it. I don't really have many bad things to say about it. A lot of Pixel questions today. Wow. Green9227 says, what are your thoughts about Pixel 6 removing the charger? That's such a good question that I've decided to make an entire video on that very subject, which will drop at the very end of this live stream. But yeah, essentially recap that video for you. Spoiler alert, I guess, for the people watching the live stream, is that I think it's perfectly fine. It's totally justified. It makes more sense for Androids to remove the charge brick than iPhones, because USB-C is widely accessible and very, very much used across the industry. So there's even more reason not to include a brick, because there's tons and tons of USB-C bricks out on the market, and that are probably being used by Android fans and have been used by Android fans. So basically, how do you charge your last Android? Or even if you're charging an iPhone with a USB-C brick, you'll still be able to charge your Pixel 6 with it. So, but I do have some more thoughts going into specifically how Apple was perceived for removing the brick versus how everyone else is perceived for removing the brick. So that's I guess what more of the video is about. But yeah. Matt Bennett, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate that. That was nice of you. Let's see. Marngel says they increased the max storage capacity in the iPad Pro. Why not in the iPhone? Yeah, I would argue, like, I'm sure there are some people out there suggesting, like, why do we need a 1 terabyte iPhone, right? Like, what are you storing with that much space? Why do you need that much storage on a particular phone? I would argue the same thing with the iPad. I mean, if we're not supporting ProRes and we're not trying very hard to give a bunch of file management, anyone who's tried to move like hundreds of gigabytes of files through the Files app on the iPad knows that it's not optimized for that. There's really not a point in having 2 terabytes of storage on an iPad because of how limited the apps are and how limited the file management system is still compared to a Mac. So if we're going to have 2 terabyte options on the iPad, why not the iPhone? I mean, the argument is basically if people are willing to pay for it, why not offer it? It doesn't matter whether or not you or I find use in it. I'm definitely not getting one. I actually, when I got my 12 mini this year, I was, wasn't sure if I was going to end up keeping it or not. And I was like, it's only $50 more to get 128 gigs of storage. So I should get that, why not? So I opted for the 128 gig model on my 12 mini. I checked my iPhone storage now, and I'm not even using as much iCloud storage as I used to. I downgraded. I checked my local iPhone storage. I'm using 20 gigs. So I paid extra for that storage, and I literally never took advantage of it, despite all of the vlogging and all the videos I recorded on that thing. It's all temporary file storage, It's like I ended up deleting a lot of that stuff after I edited the videos and uploaded them because I realized, like, there's not a point in keeping it stored locally. And if I keep it stored locally, it's probably going to get backed up to the cloud anyway, and that's going to fill up my iCloud storage faster. You have one viewer who wants a 1 terabyte iPhone for taking lots of videos. Yes, but I need to give major credit to Big Truck Series Review Motorsports, who has been commenting for years now, I believe. I think literally years. I'm going to find the video because I did a montage. It was a while ago, but basically he is so committed to making sure that whenever, literally any video that has anything remotely similar with iPhone subjects, he will comment on that video, I don't care, I need 1 terabyte, and not the same comment over and over again, right? So it's not spamming. He's not just repeating the same comment repeatedly. He finds like a separate, different way of saying it every single time, which blows my mind about how just committed he is to it and how badly he wants it and basically how he's willing to pay anything to get it. So, okay, I found it here. We're going to watch it here together just so people can see how far back these go. Okay. Open this up. There was some music to it you won't be able to hear, but 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months. Big comments on the 5 months. But you'll notice each comment is different. He went to 7 months. I'm all boring. I need 1 terabyte. I'll do whole videos about all the upgrades coming with the iPhone 12. 10 months. We're only halfway through. How far back did this go? Giant paragraph. Haters gonna hate. I just need a 1 terabyte. I think that comment was on the one where they were talking about removing the charge bricks. Okay, now we're in the 1 year mark and we're still going back. And this tweet was not recently, so these are all probably coming up on 2 years old. Don't care about the incremental upgrades. I just need 1 terabyte of storage. It keeps going. It just keeps going. I camped out for iPhone 6 Plus 128 gig. He's doing a crap ton of vlogs. 2 years. Okay, it does go that far back. So when this video was posted, we have a comment the first time he ever made it. It's possible that I gave up. He may have been commenting about this even before then. But yeah, short of a 1 terabyte iPhone, I don't feel a need to upgrade. So yeah, he is extremely committed to this subject. Where he's literally been commenting for years. He's still done this, by the way. So I tweeted this video May 12th of this year. Now it's in August, and I can confirm, no question about it, every single video I've done on iPhones since May 12th, he still has commented. So that compilation keeps going. So this man needs to win a 1 terabyte iPhone just for his pure commitment. And people have gotten to the point now where we all see him every iPhone video. He's there without any hesitation. People want 1 terabyte on the iPhone, but they're forgetting the Mac had the same storage as 12 Pro up until last year, maybe in 10 years. Oh yeah, Macs have had 128 gigs by default for a long time. They finally upped it to 256. Let's see. It should be abbreviated as BTSRM. I don't know if that's quicker. I mean, it's probably less syllables, but it still sounds complicated. Let's see. It would be easier to fill a 1 terabyte device if Apple would stop notifying you that your iCloud space is almost full for those who have 5 gigabytes of cloud storage. Well, you just turn off all the iCloud features. If you turn off iCloud messages and notes, and if you just turn off all the iCloud backup stuff, then you won't get those notifications. The only reason you're getting those push notifications is because you're using iCloud services, but you're by no means required to use most of it. He is extremely dedicated, yeah. But when are we getting 1 terabyte Apple Watch? That's the real question. Exactly. Is ProRes on the iPhone something that would be worth the amount of memory it would take up? Well, again, for the pros, this is not an average everyday consumer thing, but this is honestly what's getting me kind of excited about the camera performance on the Pro iPhones, because for the longest time, what has limited iPhone video performance to me has always been the compression, and how you can always just kind of tell that it was shot on an iPhone because they have to compress it quite a bit. And if they don't do that moving forward, thanks to the A15 chip or some improved sensor stabilization on these 13 Pros that are using updated megapixel, sensors, then perhaps the bit rate and the overall quality of these cinematic videos will be so high that it will take up a ton of storage. Honestly, Dolby Vision takes up a bit more storage. Just using iPhone footage to record XDR video, or I guess it's not XDR, HDR, whatever. That takes up, I think, twice as much storage just for that extra dynamic range. So people who want to store stuff locally, or want to boycott the iCloud revolution because they don't want more files and stuff stored on servers elsewhere, and they want as much stuff stored locally as possible. I would argue, if you're going to use the argument of who needs that much storage, you could probably use that same argument with 512. If we're just talking about basic smartphone use for just social media, taking pictures here and there, maybe vlogging here and there, I would say 512 gig isn't very needed or useful, or how many people are opting for that, or how many people actually utilize that. I'm curious of the people who buy 512 gig iPhones, how much of that storage is actually occupied, right? How many people are actually getting to 400 gigs or 300 gigs of storage? I need my AirPods to have 1 terabyte. Yeah, exactly. Keeps going up. Let's see. Someone agreed with Jake, but I don't see where. Lossless music needs lots of space too. Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, if you're storing a lot of lossless music, I'm wondering who's listening to lossless audio on their iPhone, but I guess that is a feature that Apple was proud to announce for the Apple Music subscribers out there. No one cares if Samsung has 1 terabyte. Well, they used to. That was actually the funny thing about this story, is that Samsung had a 1 terabyte option on the Galaxy S10, but I believe it was so unpopular that they just took it away. So the S21 doesn't have it. I don't believe the Z Fold has it. And I don't believe they have external upgradable memory either. You used to be able to put micro SD cards in Samsungs. They stopped doing that. Okay, this is a real big name, so I know I'm going to butcher it. Apologies in advance. But Abdul Qadir Lakhandwala? Sorry if I got that wrong, but thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate that. All of this YouTube member revenue goes to our food budget. So if you want me to get skinnier, don't become a member. But if you want me to get fatter, become a member. It's $2 a month. You get to use some custom emojis in the chat. Also, the more emojis the more members we get, the more custom emojis I can add for us members. So we actually just hit another milestone last live stream. So I was able to add, please don't spam the emojis. If people, I'll give you a little bit of a, no, okay, I'm not going to give anyone a break. Don't spam the emojis, but if you're asking a question and you want to throw something along with it, the latest emoji I added to the members is the throwing up the hands. We have that in the Discord and we use it quite a bit. So if you're frustrated, you want to use custom emojis, we have that for members. It's $2 a month, and it helps me out. So appreciate it. Anyway, that's enough plugging. I don't want to drag it on too much. But Tim, thank you for the super chat. Wouldn't ProRes plus large storage be a good reason to market a USB-C Pro iPhone? Thank you, Tim. Oh my God. Is this Tim Cook's burner account? Is Tim a leaker? I need this. Oh, my God. AJ, please don't spam the emojis, but use the emojis responsibly, basically. But yes, I agree. There's actually ProRes plus lossless audio and all this stuff. All of this is a great reason to bring USB-C to the iPhone. But also, even if all of these leaks are incorrect, right? Like, even if we don't get ProRes, even if we don't get portrait mode video, even if we don't get 1 terabyte iPhones, because USB-C is the future. It's a way better port. It's bi-directional. It's already used on Apple products. I don't care about this little lightning ecosystem crap. There was a 30-pin ecosystem, and Apple steered away from that. So, Apple, I don't know what you're thinking, but if the EU has to get involved because your connector doesn't want to move on from 2012, then something's wrong, right? If a government has to get involved because Apple can't get on with the times, then I say just, we could save the European Union, we could save so much time, so much money if we didn't even have to have this discussion and just switch to USB-C on the iPhone, regardless of ProRes or regardless of lossless audio. Just let people use the same our iPad as our Mac. Okay, there might be some people that can't use their lightning cables anymore. Big whoop. You're still going to include USB-C cables when people buy new iPhones, so they're not even going to have to buy new accessories or whatever. Sorry about the lag. I see it. Starlink looking for a satellite. I'm glad we agree. USB-C, yes. Oh, and he said, everyone cancel your membership. We must get Skinny Drew. That's okay. How about I'll use the money on healthy foods? This Zach Jewett says, makes me want to unsub and require you to do tasks for me to get your monthly $2. I'm exercising, though, at least. Give me credit there. I have lost weight. In the past year. You're not just seeing things. If they bring ProRes RAW, that's even more reason for a 1 terabyte iPhone. I hope so. I don't know if they can technically do RAW. That's really, really hard to do with a smartphone. It's kind of hard to do with a regular camera. But honestly, if they did ProRes RAW on the phone, you might want more than 1 terabyte. That probably would fill up really quick. Even better idea. Instead of having any charger for AirPods, we call the guy from Shark Tank to have them surgically implanted. That's a great idea. Let's get Neuralink on this. You'll never lose your AirPods if they're built into your brain. Will there be 2 or 4 speakers in the iPad mini 2021? You saw any leaks? I have not, but the only concern I've seen people have is I think there were renders of an iPad mini floating around that didn't have a speaker grill on the top. Let me see if I can... Well, I wonder if Apple iDesigner put extra speaker grill, although that's probably just a concept. Let me fly it. Maybe it was renders by Ian, but I just like... Apple iDesigners. Oh, does it show it? I'm trying to find it here. Okay, I'm bringing the image over so we can look at it together. These are the renders I really like. These look great. So speaker grill on the bottom, yeah, we get that. But what about the top? Come on, is he on gap? We need. It doesn't really show it. Yeah. No, I don't really see it, but that's just a minor detail with the iPad. Well, it seems like a minor detail, but in reality, I think it's kind of a major one because I do believe that would be a big deal breaker for a ton of people out there. Skinny legend. You should go to Whole Foods with the money we give you for memberships. I don't know if I have a Whole Foods nearby. I saw the title and one person instantly came to mind. Why would the Mini have 4 speakers when the Air doesn't? Well, people are getting confused. So most of the time when I say the iPad needs stereo speakers, I'm referring to sound comes from the left and right when you're holding it in landscape. But the truth is, they technically have stereo speakers already on the iPad Mini. It's just through the bottom. So it's like when you're using it in portrait mode, the speakers coming out of the bottom of the iPad do left and right. So it's technically stereo, but it's not really, I think, what people mean when they think stereo. The iPad Air 4 has speakers on the top and bottom and in portrait and left and right when you're in landscape. And basically, we just want the same thing for the iPad Mini. I don't know why it would be different from the Mini, but it's just a change that people have noticed in renders and leaks and stuff. Is they're like, hey, where's the speaker grill on the top? But they are not super concrete. Most of them are conceptual based on rumors and based on what people have heard. It's not necessarily, CAD files that we're looking at quite yet, although there was like a steel mock-up. Let me find that real quick. I think that was this morning that news dropped. This is crucial information. Yeah, here it is. Images originated from the website Tecordo in cooperation with a leaker named XLeak7. But yeah, they have basically just, downscaled iPad Air 4. And that's what I want. That's what I think would be really cool. And I hope ends up happening. But sorry, I'm just adjusting exposure. There's a lot of smoke out today. That's why everything looks super duper orange. But I want this to be a reality, please. Quadraphonic stereo. Is that the term for it, Mike? My goodness, there's so many mics. Does any more agree ports should be sealed off, underscreen speakers, and portless iPhone for complete waterproofing? I don't think everyone agrees with that. I think that Apple probably wants a portless future where the iPhone is portless, but they keep getting too afraid of the backlash / afraid of having to get everyone onto a portless standard, so all your old wired CarPlay accessories don't work, and people getting annoyed by all of their old lightning cables not working, and it's still going to be a different standard from iPad, so it doesn't really simplify the ecosystem much because you're still going to have to take a MagSafe with you. This would be a lot easier if MagSafe Duo was Type-C, or if MagSafe pucks had a USB-C port on them, but they don't. A portless phone means all wireless charging, which isn't as effective as people think either. I mean, it's effective. I mean, it's convenient. I think everyone knows it's slower. That's kind of a given, but it can be done. I just think that if Apple hasn't gone portless yet, it's probably because they think that there's too many accessories or too much Lightning standards out there. But basically, to go portless is to adopt a not as universal standard, which is wireless charging and MagSafe, which is kind of there, but it's just no question USB-C is by far the most accessible. It's used on tons of Android phones. It's used on iPads. It's used on MacBooks. It's been made and worked on by Apple, and it's being standardized on the iMacs now as well with the 24-inch model. So there's just so much universal support for USB-C that it would simplify so much to just get the iPhone over to that. That way we could just take one cable with us on trips and charge our phones with the same thing we charge our MacBooks and that kind of thing. So MagSafe, though, not really. MagSafe would just be a whole other standard that we would have to move on to that nothing else really uses. And wireless charging's kind of there, but yeah. I mean, I know that wireless charging is not as efficient as wired, but that doesn't, wired headphones are always going to be better performing than wireless headphones, but that didn't result in Apple keeping the headphone jack. So the performance loss for the sake of convenience isn't enough for them to keep it around. But if Apple wants to go portless, then that will happen in the next redesign year. That's what we were all saying last year. Countless people were saying Apple would release a portless iPhone by the end of 2021, and now everyone changed their narrative, and they're like, actually, that's okay. 1 terabyte is great with all the HD, HDR, high intensive memory pics, vids. It's a no-brainer. Even then, I feel like you got to take a lot of videos and high-res pictures to fill it up. But 30-watt charger for iPhone. My 12 Pro Max still takes 2 hours to charge, and wireless charging sucks both for price and speed. It's just not, I think, for the same reason people buy AirPods. People aren't buying AirPods because they sound the best. People aren't buying AirPods because they have the lowest latency. People buy AirPods because they're convenient, and that's kind of the same argument with wireless charging, is that it takes less effort. You just drop the phone on a little puck and it starts charging, opposed to having to find the cable and get it lined up correctly and plug it in. It's not a complicated task, but it's one that takes up more time, and wireless is just more convenient overall, and I think that's why Apple's endorsing it. But I agree, the argument can be made, of course, that the convenience of wireless headphones versus wired headphones is not as drastic as the convenience of wireless charging versus wired charging, just because we don't have like walk in the room charging where you could just be within like a proximity of an outlet and just get a charge that way. Whereas AirPods, you can be 15 feet away from your phone and still have a wireless connection. So that's likely why Apple's okay with doing wireless headphones so much now, and maybe not ready to completely jump into the wireless charging future. But I'm just saying they've done it. Charge speed doesn't bother them as much because they know ideally you just charge overnight. That's probably how 95% of people charge, is they use their phone throughout the day, and then at the end of the day when they sleep, when people go to bed, they drop their phone on a charger. And wireless charging just makes that easier. Even if it takes longer, you don't want necessarily the phone to charge at 30 watts constantly, because that hurts your battery health. And likely the reason, Divot, that it takes 2 hours to charge is because it slows way down after 50%. That's for your benefit. They could probably get it to 100% in less than an hour, but it would definitely hurt your battery health. So they don't want to do that. So they build in precautions to go against that, if at all possible. Brian Irwin says, 1 terabyte iPhone, give it to me. I can put my entire music collection like the iPod. My music library has grown a bit. 1 terabyte of music, though? That's just insane. I just want to know whose music library is filling up 512 gig iPhones. I'm not against there being a 1 terabyte iPhone option, just for those who do plan on storing a crap ton of stuff locally, but the music argument, I have a hard time wrapping my head around. Clark Hazard, thank you for the super chat. He says, I know you don't think it's worth it, but I got the maxed out 64 gig Apple TV. Just tell me why. Were you filling up the 32 gig Apple TV? Please. I do not endorse this method. Please. Wireless charging without touch, then decide that it is wireless. Right now it's fake wireless. Yeah, but you can use that argument with anything. Wi-Fi isn't really wireless because you have to have a wire going to the router. It's like, the idea is portless. That's why a lot of people call it inductive charging. You don't have to interact with a cable to plug in the device. If you're plugging in with a wire, you got to grab the wire, grab the phone, and line it up like this. If you're charging with wireless music, you just drop it on the puck and it starts charging. Took one hand instead of two. Trying to plug in a wire to your iPhone with one hand is very awkward, and most people don't do that. They just use both. I have an offline music library of almost 400 gigabytes. But how much of that music are you listening to regularly? I just have to imagine that if you have 400 gigs worth of offline music, there's at least like 200 gigs of that you don't listen to for like months at a time, and it's just stored there. I just want to be safe. It's for people wanting to be safe. Well, if Apple can profit off people wanting to be safe, then they'll definitely do it. It's the same argument with the 2 terabyte iPad. I don't know people that were filling up the 1 terabyte that needed more, but they have an option for those people. Wireless charging is more convenient than wired, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I really don't like the idea of a portless iPhone, mainly for restores and data transfer. Well, I'm just saying Apple mass produces portless devices regularly. The Apple Watch, I know it has a maintenance port, but 99.99% of Apple Watches never use it, so it's practically portless. AirPods, the case has a port for charging, but the pods themselves don't have any ports on them. Those are all charged via inductive. So they have ways of doing system recovery if there's an issue, or data transferring over Bluetooth. There's ways of doing it. I think the main reason they don't want to do it is just they're afraid of the backlash. Like right now, Apple's struggling to come up with reasons for people to upgrade their iPhone. If they start coming up with reasons for people to not upgrade because it's portless, that's going to scare people away. Super chat from Galaxy Rock Studio. Will the iPhone 13 Pros have vapor cooling? I'm a heavy user, and Genshin at low graphics, 60 FPS, makes my 12 Pro Max dim to 30% brightness after 15 minutes. I haven't heard they're going to have vapor cooling. I think someone was saying that's a rumor, but my guess is Apple just wants to make the CPU and the modems run more efficiently so they just don't get hot in the first place. But yeah, Apple will probably do whatever they got to do to cool it down. I don't have anything fundamentally against vapor cooling if they want to have that feature. I don't know much about it, to be honest with you, but if it results in the phone not overheating and having to dim the display, then yeah, I'm sure they'll try their best. But that is, I don't play a ton of games on my phone, but I have done FaceTimes over 5G outside before, and it did heat up the phone and the brightness went down. So it's definitely a problem they hopefully can fix. Let's see. You're right, Drew. I listen to maybe 120 to 150 gigs actively year round. Well, that's what I mean. People are worried that, like, if I lose Wi-Fi and I lose cellular and I want to listen to music I haven't listened to in a year, I want to have the storage for that. It's like, okay, I guess that's a use case, but it's a small one. Wyatt Hall says, I bought the 256 gig iPhone 12 mini, and the only thing I stored was the Tailosive podcasts. I make great financial decisions. I've just discovered I have internet access most of the time, so being able to stream isn't that big a deal. And I use Mint Mobile. You know, they don't have, like, the coverage is fine. It's not like the best of the world, but I've not run into a ton of situations where I didn't have access to cellular. And I don't have unlimited data either, and I didn't run out of data. YJ says, newer Apple TVs don't have a port for restoring to factory settings either. That's another argument I've seen a lot of people say. Apple TVs have ports on them, but there's not a port to take over if tvOS crashes and needs to be restored. They have like a wireless fail-safe in place that's like, if it crashes, you can just basically do recovery mode like you do on a Mac, and it will download a fresh copy of tvOS and restart everything. Will Apple ever make an iPhone that looks the same as the iPhone 3G with specifications from a normal smartphone? God, I hope not. Do you just mean the size? I don't know. I was not a big fan of the 3G. Wasn't that the one that was all curved on the back? I put my phone on a desk or a table a lot, and that one makes it wobble like crazy. So I wasn't as big a fan of the 3G design personally. That's like, in terms of iPhone design over the years, that's probably my least favorite, to be honest. Let's see. Onboard music storage is so last decade. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, but some people don't. I've always wondered, when will our everyday carry narrow down to just the phone? I know Apple has driver's license and car unlock, but Apple Pay has been a thing, but we still have to carry our debit card. Some people don't, depending on the country you're in. I don't have to carry my... there's not a lot of places that don't support Apple Pay where I am, but the state I live in does not support digital driver's licenses yet, so I still have to keep that around with me. And there's a lot of countries that have really great contactless payment, but not everybody has a car that supports the car unlock thing. But yeah, we're getting closer. I think I know several people that probably just leave their driver's license in the car, and then everywhere they go supports contactless or Apple Pay, so they take their phone for everything. And then keys are probably the more challenging one. Make sure you're having a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled like locks on your house so that you can unlock when you get home and lock up when you leave, and then your car doesn't need a key. Yeah, there's a lot of places that have very, very good Apple Pay adoption. It just depends where you are, you know. Where do you see the iPhone design go moving forward after the squared off trend? My prediction, I could be wrong on this, but we've had the rounded design ever since the iPhone 6, and now we're back to squared off design with iPhone 12, and that's probably going to stick around for many, many more years. But my next prediction would be is they're going to go in the middle, kind of like what they did with the iPod Touch, where it's rounded on the back edges but flat on the front. That way you still get the clean, flat look of the display, but it feels more comfortable in the hand. That's one thing I actually really liked about the MagSafe pack, is that it was rounded on the back so it didn't cut into my hand as well. And probably just thinner, over time they'll find ways of making them thinner. Let's see. You still have to carry debit just in case. I don't really need to carry debit. I do carry around my Apple Card, but my wallet also has my driver's license in it. So that's what I need more importantly. But a lot of people don't, is all I'm saying. It just depends on where you are. If you're in a place that doesn't have great Apple Pay adoption, then yeah, you carry around the physical card just in case. But there's a lot of places that don't, and they don't carry around physical cards. Where do I find a list of states that do allow a digital driver's license? I don't know. Google it. I don't know if there's a special federal page that has all that, but I gotta Google your state. Just be like, does Idaho support digital driver's license? It'll probably say yes or no. I don't know. Let's see. I kind of want to see a wireless charger that you could put on a bedside and it will charge anything within 1 meter radius. Yeah, that technology exists. The problem is it kills you. Like, just the simple physics of getting something to charge over the air has existed for a long time. The idea of figuring out a way to do that without causing cancer and without heating, like literally sending microwaves across the air, figuring out a way to do that safely is what has not been figured out. And there has been talks and hypotheticals and startup companies and Xiaomi or whoever claiming they have the technology ready, and it will eventually come into more and more climates, but it hasn't yet. And I think it's because the tech is far too dangerous to bring to the mainstream. And if you do want to make it safe, it's incredibly slow and does not charge the phone at all. Like, you could maybe give a little bit of power to it, but the phone, even when doing something very basic, will not increase the charge fast enough. Because personally, like, I don't think over-the-air charging needs to be fast, because the idea is it would be like super duper convenient. If it was possible to charge your phone over the air within like a 6-foot radius, I don't even really care if it's 5 watts or less, because as long as it's charging in the background, you won't even think about it. You won't be having to think, oh man, I gotta charge up my phone now. You just walk in the room and it starts charging. So if it's really, really slow, that's okay. But I'm trying to say the technology in its current form that everyone has tried to figure out, it's either extremely slow to the point that it doesn't even increase your charge, it just prolongs your battery life a little bit, which it's also super duper expensive. So you have to buy this giant tower and this really expensive power consuming. You lose so much energy in that process. You think wireless charging is inefficient. Charging over the air would be like even 5 times less efficient than that for the amount of power it takes in versus how much your phone actually gets. And if you try to increase the charging speed, it gives you cancer. So that's been the running dilemma for a long, long time. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. California does not currently support digital IDs, but Apple is based out of California, and they're promoting this feature. So I have to imagine it's on the way. I think I read somewhere that they're working on getting it either end of this year or sometime next year. I don't know exactly when. It's the government, so you don't know how long everything's going to take. But as long as Apple has endorsed it and said this is a feature we're going to be rolling out, and I'm sure more and more states are going to eventually support it, that basically, what am I trying to say? The limiting factor, that's the terminology. I was trying to think of the term. The limiting factor of digital driver's licenses will not be on Apple. It will now be on your state's jurisdiction, even though, Apple's got the data and they've got the software to support it. The more convenient, the less fast it needs to be. If it only needs to be fast, if it sucks to charge. Yeah, exactly. Imagine all of the 5G vaccines Karen will react when charging over the air becomes a thing. Oh, yeah, big time. Everything gives you cancer. That's actually kind of true. Everything gives off a slight amount of radiation. Technology or not, there's just different levels of radioactivity, and some of it is dangerously high and some of it is not dangerous. Wireless charging is simply slower and less efficient. I prefer the cable. That's fine. It's just a lot of people don't care that it's slower and less efficient because it's easier. I must say, it's like the nicest, simplest thing at the end of the day when I'm done with my phone and I'm ready to charge. I don't even think about it. I don't even look. I don't have to align anything. I don't have to grab a cable. I just reach my phone over next to the nightstand by our bed, and I just put it there, and the magnets grab it and align it perfectly, and it starts charging. What if Apple used AMD Ryzen CPU instead of Intel CPU? You think Apple can beat CPU and GPU in terms of performance to price? Yeah, I don't think Apple would be switching to their own silicon if they didn't think it was better. If there was someone else out there that was better than Intel and better than Apple's own in-house silicon, they would definitely switch to that if they could. But I'm guessing the reason Apple is switching to their own silicon is because they very clearly see a roadmap in a trajectory in which they're going to outperform everybody else in the industry. Nothing has to give you cancer. Your body is already fighting cancer at the moment. Well, yeah, it's just different levels of it, you know. Just because everything gives you a certain amount of cancer doesn't mean it's okay to just like bathe in uranium. You know, the likelihood increases depending on the device. Basically, if you send microwaves over the air, that's not good. That's dangerous. Let's see. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but okay, stop. Allie, that's weird. Well, banana is radioactive. Yeah, everything is to a certain extent. It's just some is dangerously radioactive. I'm considering to upgrade to the 13 Pro from my current 12 Pro. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Any recommendations? If you care about 120 hertz refresh rate, that's a good reason to wait. If you care about ProRes video or 1 terabyte storage options, or if you care about portrait mode video, ProRes, like better video performance overall, basically, that's a good reason to wait. But if you don't care about any of those stuff, there's not a great reason to upgrade. There's just not. There's like size-wise, it'll be the same. Battery life will be better. But it's still going to be lightning. It's still not going to come with a charge brick. I hope I don't like the new MacBook so I can convince myself to get an M1 refurbished. Yeah, I kind of know what you mean. Tesla. Oh, that's a cool name. Microwaves are perfectly safe. They just don't carry much energy for charging. Well, why do we close the microwave door? Why do we close it? Wait for what gets announced is just better. Yeah, we're so close that it's better off to just wait to see what gets announced, because even if you don't like the 13 Pro, you can just get a 12 Pro on sale for much cheaper. But I guess this person already has a 12 Pro. So if none of the stuff I talked about sounds interesting, then yeah, just save your money. If you can get by with less, then get by with less. Is there any downside to purchasing refurbished Apple products? Not really. From what I've seen, the only downside is the box doesn't have a picture of the product on it. If you're getting a certified refurbished Apple product, it typically has like a basic, let me find a picture of it. But yeah, Apple gives you a full warranty and they refurbish it to like basically brand new. I've never heard of someone buying something from Apple certified refurbished with scratches or dings on it or anything. Like, other than the package, you will not be able to tell that it is not a brand new product. In my experience, at least, everything felt perfectly new. So I'd highly recommend it. I'm honestly debating in my head, like seeing how good the deals are with certified refurbished, and I'm kind of getting excited for the M1X MacBook Pros. I'm kind of interested in like maybe I should just wait for the M1X, 16-inch MacBook Pro to show up on certified refurbished and then buy it, because the M1 iMac came on the refurbished page. Well, when did they unveil it? Was that April? Yeah, they had the April event on 4/20, and then it didn't deliver until May. Now it's August. So it took 3 months. 3 months of waiting, and now you can get it for way cheaper, and it's basically new. Like, I think I would rather do that if I can save a couple $100. We close the microwave door so that it can actually cook your food. So you're saying we could leave it wide open? It wouldn't matter? It wouldn't hurt anything? You think Apple leaks has decreased the excitement to watch Apple events or any other tech events? Your thoughts? No, if anything, it kind of heightens excitement, because if you don't have leaks or any type of news or analysts to get you pumped for what's going to happen at an event, then it results in the vast majority of the year you just not knowing what's going to happen, and that makes it far less interesting. If the whole time you're just like, oh, I don't know, we'll find out in 6 months, I don't know, we'll find out in 5 months, I don't know, we'll find out in 4 months, there's really not much to talk about. There's very, very little things to get pumped for. So there's definitely ways it can ruin excitement, that's for sure. Like, it's a blessing and a curse. It's kind of a double-edged sword. On one hand, if there was no leakers or no analysts telling us what to expect, then I guess everything we get announced, everything that gets announced with an Apple event, we would be somewhat surprised by, because we wouldn't really have heard anything in the past. But simultaneously, yeah, there's obviously a lot of leakers and a lot of people that come out with untrue rumors, and they get excitement way too high, and a bunch of people think, oh, we're gonna get AirPower, and we're gonna get Apple Glass, and we're gonna get crazy no-notch iPhone this year, and people can get their expectations too high, and then when the event happens, it's disappointing. But it kind of hurts and helps. It kind of goes both ways. Your iMac would have gone on certified refurbished, presumably? Yeah, Katrina, that's true. The iMac I reviewed has probably now been refurbished and is being sold for cheaper. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. I got to review it. I got to let you know my thoughts after checking out the iMac. Apple got some attention publicly for free. They didn't have to pay me for that attention. And now they get to sell it again to someone else who gets it at a discount. So that's why I kind of see the return process as a win-win for everybody. Imagine if all the refurbished iMacs are the crooked ones. They were honestly very hard to tell they were crooked. I'll be frank. All of the leaks and news sites that talked about it had to Photoshop it to look way more crooked than any of them were, because otherwise you wouldn't really notice. It's kind of a non-problem. It's like, is it really a problem if I have to explain it to you and you didn't notice it anyway? But no, I don't think the leaks have decreased the excitement. It gives us more to talk about throughout the year, I would say. The only real way a portless iPhone would work is with an actual copper connector. I was so disappointed to find out MagSafe is just a wireless charger. A copper connector wouldn't be portless. That would just be a different type of port. Do you think that it's still worth it for me to buy them or MacBook Air? Wait. Them? I'm scrolling up. I'm trying to look for your other messages. I don't see them. Oh, yes. We saw Big Truck Series review earlier. He's very excited. People need to understand that Apple's pacing of releasing exciting, mind-blowing features is a marathon and not a sprint. They're going to slowly improve things over time as long as it sells well. Yeah, it's true. We can't get game-changing, one more thing type events all the time. But I think the tech community just gets so excited about everything that we want, well said, YJ. We all want brand new game-changing stuff to get announced constantly. Hope Apple TV remote gets MagSafe charging at some point, with the top of the Apple TV being the wireless charging pad. I just think the remote's too skinny. You couldn't fit a MagSafe coil on it. Maybe you could fit magnets on the end, and that would be enough to align it towards the center. But yeah, I want MagSafe on more things for sure. Dandroid UK says, I switched to the Note 20 Ultra last year, got rid of my iPad Pro and iPhone, and I've never regretted something so much. Can't wait to get back on the Apple train this year. I keep hearing that in a lot of live streams. I'd like to hear what you miss, Dandroid UK, because I've heard lots of people say, like, I switched to the Samsung this, or I switched to the Pixel this. I'm over it. I'm done. I want to go back to the iPhone. It's interesting headline to write in the chat, but tell me specifically, like, what about the Note 20 Ultra, and what about not having the iPad Pro anymore do you miss? What makes you want to go back exactly? MagSafe on AirPods. Tesla coil tower charging device. Wireless electronics shock you in charging at the same time. Wow. 2 features in one. Do you think we'll see Touch ID on the iPhones this year? We should have, but I don't think we will. Based on current rumors and current leaks, my prediction is no. It could surprise us out of left field. That would be an amazing last minute shock. But it makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I think that this year Apple is putting not too much, but I'm just kind of noticing a pattern in the past few years that Apple will do a huge emphasis on the high-end iPhone, the Pro, whichever, even if it's not the Pro, the stainless steel iPhone. They'll do a big emphasis on that, and then the following year they'll do more of an emphasis on the budget, more affordable flagship. I'm tempted to say mid-range, but Apple's so expensive it's really not mid-range. And then the following year they'll do more of an emphasis on the flagship, and then the next year they'll do more an emphasis on the cheaper one. So this pattern is like 2017, right? iPhone 8 and 8 Plus might as well have been called 7S and 7S Plus. Fairly similar. Not that much of a change. But iPhone 10 was like biggest iPhone upgrade of all time. We got all these crazy new aspect ratio, new biometric, wireless charging, OLED. So much changes with the iPhone 10, but it's $1,000. So, okay, they emphasized the expensive one. Following year, bestseller, most of the attention during the keynote all went towards the 10R. 10S, barely different, like slightly better battery life. I guess we got 10S Max, which was pretty cool. But for the most part, 10S compared to 10, not terribly different. But all of the attention was on the 10R in 2018. They were like, hey, look, everyone, you can now get the cool-looking iPhone for cheaper. Here's all these new colors. Here's liquid retina. And they got a big emphasis on the 10R. Then a year after that, we got into the ultra-wide lenses. We got the giant battery life improvements on the Pros. And even the Pros got fast chargers included with them, which was never done before. And the frosted glass on the back. There was just... The 11 was cool. We got a price reduction. But other than that, it was pretty much the same as a 10R, and we got the extra ultra-wide lens. We got slightly better water resistance. So I guess, 11 and 11 Pro were pretty fair share. But it definitely felt like a huge emphasis on the Pros that year. And then iPhone 12 versus 12 Pro, not a lot of differences. The biggest thing the Pros had going for them was like extra RAM and steel and LiDAR. But the entry-level iPhones got an extra size with the 12 mini. They got OLED. They got everything, got 5G. But it just felt like there was an emphasis on the budget options. Now, this year feels like it's an emphasis on the Pro iPhones, which are going to be 120 hertz and maybe getting a terabyte or ProRes or portrait mode video. So they kind of go back and forth, basically, with their emphasis. And that's probably where most of the attention is being devoted to this year. Love how the color on the orange iMac's chin matches my wall perfectly. Ooh, that's the color of your wall? I mean, no judgment, but it's kind of pinkish. MagSafe on iMac. Well, it does. The little power connector on the back of the iMac is, magnetic. Dandroid says, I miss the software. Android is just so buggy and the app situation is just a mess. I have the Samsung Tab, Watch, and Phone, and they just don't play together as nicely, and the Apple stuff does. That's what I thought. That would have been my argument too, is just the ecosystem and the app market. I do think is vastly superior on Apple. Like I've always found the Play Store apps buggy and clunky. Like they just don't feel optimized. So yeah, I agree with you. I think I would come to the same conclusion if I switched to Android for that long. You have the best looking live I have ever seen. Oh, Sydney Sykes, you need to watch some other live streams. My setup sucks. It would have been good for Touch ID to come this year just because we're getting a huge emphasis on Pro iPhones, and I don't think average consumers are going to care as much. Like, I don't see everyday people being like, ooh, 120 hertz, I need to get that, or ooh, LiDAR, or ooh, ProRes, and if we ignore the Pro iPhones, what are the changes with the iPhone 13? Like, not the high-end stainless steel ones, but just the regular 13. The cameras are diagonal now. Okay. Slightly better battery. A15 chip. Okay. The notch is a little bit smaller. All of these features don't seem very exciting to the average consumer, which is why, to bring this all back to the original question, I do think Touch ID would have made a lot of sense because that's something I see everyday people talking about. Lots of people outside of the tech community are like, I don't like Face ID. I miss Touch ID, or, because of the mask situation. If you have an Apple Watch, it's not that big a deal. I don't need Touch ID personally, but it's just a feature that I think everyday people would know about and appreciate and want to upgrade for, especially because of the pandemic. And now with the rise of the Delta variant, there might be more masks in our future. So people wanting to unlock their phone via fingerprint while still having a new iPhone and not wanting the SE. I could see why that would have been a really great selling point, and I could see a ton of people getting pumped for that. Even if it's just in the power button, it doesn't need to be underneath the display because that's probably more expensive. And they already have a power button with Touch ID on the iPad Air, so like the tech exists. But my guess is Apple decided that not enough people are probably going to use that feature. If you put two biometrics on one phone, it's probably going to result in one of them not getting used very much and the other one getting used a lot. And Apple just goes all in on Face ID now. So they probably just figured it's going to drive the cost up of manufacturing. That hurts our margins and not enough people are going to use it. So we're just not going to have it. But either way, yeah, I agree with Loner Boy. He says, I love how the Apple Watch unlocks the phone even when it does it by mistake. I love that too, because there's a lot of the time I'm just not looking at my phone in an optimum angle, but it'll unlock because it detects that my watch is nearby. And I'm like, I'll just hit the lock button. I'll just hit that if someone tried to unlock my phone when I didn't want them to. Which iPhone you think will they have an in-display fingerprint sensor, since Android phones already have? Well, they've had them for years, and Apple has really shown no interest in adding them. So, we should admit to ourselves, Apple has never made a device with two biometrics so far. So it's very possible that Apple just has a fundamental issue with that. They don't see the point in making devices with more than one biometric. So they might just never do it because they think Face ID is better. And they know that it's not perfect. And there's a lot of people who don't like Face ID, but let's not kid ourselves. The iPhone 12 series was the best-selling smartphone globally this year, and iPhone XR in the past was, and iPhone 11 in years prior. The best-selling phones all don't have fingerprint sensors on them. So we can complain and argue all day about why Touch ID is better, or at least having both is better, and you might be right, but Apple financially doesn't really have much incentive to do it because it's like, people are still buying these things without Touch ID. So my non-tech friends genuinely think 12 Pro is way better than 12. It's like slightly better, but yeah, it's just not probably as much as they'd think. I bet a lot of non-tech people assume that the battery life and the cameras and the display is way better. In reality, they're almost identical. The 12 Pro actually has worse battery life than the 12, which I thought was funny. I don't think it's way better for the price. The 12 is way better, in my opinion, but let's see. I would rather it be in the power button. I enjoy it in the iPad Air. Yeah, I just think that would probably be cheaper. Do you think it's scummy that Apple advertises their telephoto cameras with 4x optical range? It's misleading if you're not paying attention. I'm hoping we get an actual 4x telephoto. It's, of all the scummy things they've done, that's not high on my list. Samsung did the same thing, and no one seemed to care. 100x telephoto zoom is 100 from the ultra wide. That's the same thing Apple's doing. It's 4x range. Apple's going to use the bigger number if they can, and technically they are correct. It is a 4x zoom from the ultra wide, so I get why they do it. Is it a little misleading? Somewhat, but there's worse things they've done. That's kind of something the rest of the industry has been doing too. Please speak about same iPhone MagSafe puck for future MacBooks. I don't think MagSafe pucks are going to be efficient enough to charge whole MacBooks. Right now, they're capping out at 15 watts, and the MacBook Air needs 30. So if they can double the wireless charge speed, and then you'd have this big circular puck that attaches to the back. Yeah, I don't see it happening. They said it 4x optical zoom, not necessarily 4x telephoto. Yeah, it's fine. Why do you think for some people who are tech-oriented, Macs feel harder to use? I honestly haven't heard that, to be frank with you. We got to be more frank. I I honestly think most of the issues people have with Mac is just it not supporting certain software, third-party software, not supporting certain specific code that they need for either school or for their job, and that prevents them from wanting to use the Mac. I haven't heard people just say they're objectively harder to use. Maybe the window snapping could be an issue, but anyway, I got to get going here shortly, but I've got a tech video. Oh, Ethan Dabish says, if/when you switch to Android, what would your setup be? This is definitely an if. Don't use when. Pixel, Samsung, or OnePlus. I'm actually going to keep a sharp eye on the Google Tensor chip. I think that it'd be very interesting because I like having first party. I like having first party hardware and what's it called? First party software that's vertically integrated and that type of thing. So if they make a really successful custom silicon chip on the Pixel 6 and the video performance is reportedly really good, and there's talk of them making a Pixel watch. I'm not saying I'm doing it this year. I'm talking way off in the future. But if I did have to switch away from Apple into a different ecosystem, I don't know what I would do for my computer for video editing and stuff. But when it comes to my phone and watch, I think Google has the best shot at making a real streamlined ecosystem. But yeah, Samsung and OnePlus are good too. They're all very similar with each other. You know, they're all kind of using the same suppliers. But I appreciate the super chat, Ethan. Thank you very much. But anyway, you guys, if you want to talk more about the Pixel, I'm going to drop a video on it right now. And so everybody, you have a new tech video to enjoy. Hopefully you find it interesting. I got to share it on Twitter now, but I appreciate all the super chats and our new members. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you guys soon. Thank you all for watching. Have an excellent rest. Oh, also, it's Tesla AI Day. So if you guys are interested in watching my reaction to Tesla AI Day, I'll be reacting to it live over on Tailosive EV. But link for the new video is in the chat. Feel free to check it out. Thank you all. Have a good day. Bye-bye.